Hey there, best of Trekkers! Today, we've got a block of episodes, several of which never really happened, and some themes of religion and war, amongst others. Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Dustin Wing. Never really happening at 62. A life passed by. Or The Visitor. I know many of you would like to see this one in the top 10. I can definitely see that in your personal list. But before I get into the recap bit, I'm not a huge fan of plots that never really happened in the end. The two biggest things working for this episode, though, are Tony Todd as older Jake Sisko, and one of Trek's rare parent-child moments that doesn't feel like Child Protective Services should be called. Anyway, when a random, way too young adoring fan goes wandering around a swamp during a rainstorm at night, which is completely normal behavior, and played by Andrew Robinson's daughter, what she finds is her favorite writer with only a handful of stories ever written, dying. And that writer, Jake Sisko, he tells the tale of his alternate reality in the past tense about his father's disappearance due to technobabble on the Defiant, but keeps popping up randomly throughout Jake's life, and Jake gives up writing to learn advanced sciences to break his father free of his purgatory. It works, and the Sisko is able to avoid this fate, and seems to retain some memory of the alternate reality. But ultimately, it's a father-son bonding story across planes of existence, done really well. Starting a moral panic at 61, Morons for Liberty, or In the Hands of the Prophets. An episode that was always great, but means more in the US now than it did when I started this list 3 years ago. This episode marks the first appearance of one of the series' big bad, Vedic Win, and Kira's future love interest, Bareil. Keiko's just trying to teach her student science when, stop me if you've heard this recently, a religious zealot comes and challenges her interpretations of science of religion, and when that doesn't go her way, does something drastic and blows up the school. You know, like any rational person will do for the sake of their religion. For all the times I've knocked Keiko in these reviews, I'm 1000% behind her resolve to stand up for science over religious dogma, even in the face of extremist violence. I just don't understand how someone that bombed a school could ever be elected a religious leader of Bajor, but I guess that's just the will of the prophets. Finding your original home at number 60, The Dinosaur Inquisition, or Distant Origin. We weirdly start the episode visiting the gravesite of Hogan from nearly a season before. The first quarter of the episode is very different, as we don't see the rest of Voyager's living crew, but we follow a pair of lizard-like scientists setting up an analogy to Galileo. They use personal cloaking devices to shadow the crew close up and learn about what they believe in humans to be a link to the planet they evolved on. Yeah, apparently some dinosaurs left Earth before the Great Extinction 65 million years ago, and then forgot where they came from as they roamed the galaxy, building one of the biggest city ship structures we've ever seen in Trek, governing themselves in an analogy to Dark Age Catholicism and heresy trials based solely on someone saying something that may well be true, but contradicts known doctrine. The stakes of the episode get deadly serious as they find and impound Voyager, while ignoring glaring proof before their eyes about the truth of their origins, culminating in the scientist Gagan being disgraced and forced to change professions so that not just his own life, but those of his family and the crew of Voyager get saved from extinction. Chakotay gives a great speech at the heresy trial. It's too bad no one that mattered was listening. Getting a new beginning at 59, Ultimate Penultimate, or The Dogs of War. After the Breen energy weapon claimed the first Defiant, the Cisco gets a new ship to wreck, and news of a new child in the same episode. So, yay for Team Cisco! Though, kind of funny they take an NCC-registered ship and give it the old NX registry of the old Defiant, but what are you gonna do when the budget's got to go a lot of places in this wrap-up to a multi-season war? As if things couldn't get any more interesting, Jeffrey Combs gets to play 2 characters in the same episode. As Brunt shows up to kiss up to Quark, who rumor has it, is up for the new Grand Nagus position. And in true Ferengi fashion, it was never him, but Rom that would go on to lead a new Ferenginar. One where women have rights and can wear clothes now. Julian and Ezri try to work out how they feel about each other, setting up a possible relationship heading into the final episode to pay off. Damar, Kira, and Garrick get stranded on Cardassia after being sold out, while trying to bring more into their rebellion against the Dominion. There's a ton of microplots that wrap up a ton of little things set in motion throughout DS9, so the final episode of the series could truly focus on wrapping up the war. This one was nominated for an Emmy in makeup. In A Battle to Save Earth at 58, Ultimate Penultimate, Part 2, or Countdown. Enterprise's penultimate entry into the Xindi arc is probably its peak. It's definitely the peak of mid-2000s CGI as we get Enterprise's biggest and most important battle across its run, as they and their Xindi allies try to stop the reptilians and insectoids from destroying Earth. We find out what happens when a ship filled with water and aquatic life is exposed to the vacuum of space. And as tragic as it is, it's also something new to space battles, as the Makos go on a rescue mission to free Hoshi, who's been drugged and used to decrypt the codes that fully arm the weapon. Recurring season addition Major Hayes meets his end in a unique way. This sets Enterprise up to stay in the Expanse while Archer and a few others go with the Xindi to Earth to try and stop the weapon from being deployed. Did I mention the CGI? Which won a well-deserved Emmy for visual effects. Even the ending where T'Pol calls Tucker Trip for the first time really hits. Doing targeted time shenanigans at 56 and 57, reset button. Or Year of Hell Parts 1 and 2. The events here were previously foreshadowed by Kes in the previous season. These episodes were nearly the cliffhanger between seasons 3 and 4. A scientist from a race known as the Krenum is on a mission that doesn't seem able to be paid off, as he erases specific things from time in an effort to put his timeline back the way it was before he started. Voyager throws an unaccounted-for variable into the works as it enters the space of this former galactic power, and things go from bad to worse over the course of a year packed into a single double episode, where the ship becomes mostly unlivable and all but the senior staff is forced to abandon ship by the end of the first episode. The second primarily focuses on Chakotay and Paris being prisoners, with Chakotay trying to come around to Anorex's way of thinking and tries to play God, finding the perfect way to make everyone happy. After seeing how impossible that is through Anorex going after his white whale, and Tom going behind his back to start a mutiny on the ship, Chakotay finally relents and gives in, with this dramatically ending in Janeway destroying Voyager. But also one of those things that never really happened. What I don't understand is in the final frame, Anorax is with his wife, doing time computations, as if it's inevitable that he's going to develop it anyway. I hate temporal mechanics. This one was nominated for an Emmy in visual effects, and easily deserved a win on that front. Finding Your Birth Mom at 54 and 55, 40 Days in the Desert, or Image in the Sand, and Shadows and Symbols. While this is technically a 3-parter taking off the events that ended Season 6, 3 months have passed, Kira's a colonel, and the Cisco is just Avery Brooksing it up on Earth, as he has visions of baseballs dancing in his head. With the crew of the Defiant back from convoy duty, Worf isn't satisfied with protecting stem bolts, be they self-sealing or not. After O'Brien suffering a night of Klingon drinking, his friends find that he hasn't moved on from Jadzia the way most Klingons do, because he fears her soul is stuck in purgatory. One small but amazing scene is this slow simmer of Worf's anger as Vic plays Jadzia's favorite song, All the Way. As he goes from collected to destructive. This culminates in Martok taking Worf and Jadzia's friends on an epic quest to use the power of a star to destroy a Dominion shipyard that Weyoun had demanded 15% extra production out of during this episode. Back on Earth, the Sisko's destiny starts to come full circle as he learns his mom wasn't really his mom, and somewhere, completely randomly on the desert planet of Tyree, is buried the Orb of the Emissary, which, with the help of a newly minted and confused Dax, sets out on this quest to aimlessly traipse through the desert until his infamous baseball finds what they're looking for. A Bajoran orb containing the essence of his prophet mom or something that casts the Paraith Dukat unleashed on the wormhole out, which reopens the wormhole and reinvigorates Kira's resolve in a high-stakes game of chicken she's currently playing with their new Romulan allies, who have staged weapons in their hospital in the Bajoran system. Some of the best little moments in this episode are Kira's faith and Odo's fascination with her faith. The two of them work really well together, as do these combination of episodes diving into the Sisko's real past and giving Jadzia the send-off to Stovokor she deserves.
Ah, computer! That program is available.
Thanks, Major. Thanks, Major.
Last time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Thanks, Major.
Warning, warp core breach in 40 seconds. Command codes transferred.
Thanks, Major.
Genus, Aryaps. Devonian era.
Thanks, Major.
Launch protocols have been disrupted.
Thanks, Major.
Warning, structural collapse in 3 minutes. Structural collapse in 20 seconds.
Thanks, Major.
And now, the continuation.
Major.
Structural collapse in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Thanks, Major.
And now the conclusion.
Major.